Jeff Younger, I think most people here know who you are. You had a judge declare your 5-year marriage void, annulled it. You had 2 children. This judge made your children illegitimate. And I also believe, too, that the judge told you that you could not read the Bible with them past a certain point because you were not allowed to teach them about biblical sexuality. The question that I have in the back of my mind is, how do we get to the place that courts can annul a marriage and make your children illegitimate? How do we get to the place where courts can make children fatherless, because we know of your struggle that we've seen here? And how can we get to the place, how have we gotten to the place that a judge can tell you, I'm sorry, you can't read the Bible to your kids?
Okay, I would say it's bad philosophy, a bad system, and I'm going to say it bluntly, bad voters in the state of Texas. Voters shouldn't be let off the hook. Okay, voters should not be let off the hook, and we just don't talk about that enough. Bad philosophy. So the reason that the real reason that my marriage was annulled is because the judge really wanted to break my prenuptial agreement and give me a $60,000 judgment for a truck. I paid for my own truck 3 times. And then my ex got to write it off on her business, so she got paid for it twice. So the judge really wanted to break the prenup so that she would have a free hand in property division, and so she annulled my marriage. Now, I had 2 children, a marriage of 5 years. Okay, I want you to think about that. We also had a prenuptial agreement in which we disclosed all of our 8-year job history, all of our real assets, all of our financial assets, all valuable property we had, address history for 10 years, our social security number and a driver's license number. We both ran background checks on each other. And the judge, in order to break this prenuptial agreement and do this property division, said that I had misled her about how much money I made prior to the marriage. And on that basis, made my children illegitimate. Now, we'll say this is Judge Kim Cooks. I name names. This is Judge Kim Cooks. She's no longer a judge. However, in my 2019 trial, she realized that she had been lied to in the previous trial about the gender transition issue, because my ex-wife said she wasn't trying to transition my son. So she realized she had been lied to. She gave me 50-50 custody and no child support. But then in a bizarre set of actions, I was moved into another court with one of the most liberal judges in Texas, and she systematically stripped me of all parental rights. So what is the bad philosophy? The first thing is around parental rights, right? We talk about rights, unfortunately, as Americans. We talk about rights as floating abstractions. Okay, rights are just the flip side of duties. You have duties in your society and to your family and to your children, and rights give you the scope of action, the legal scope of action, and the moral scope of action to fulfill your duties. So wherever there's a right, there's a duty, and wherever there's a duty, there's a right. You can't have a right without a duty. I don't think family courts recognize that fact, because, for example, I have all the financial responsibility for my children, and I pay over $30,000 a year in child support for my children to fund transitioning my own son to a girl. But I don't have any rights. So there's something wrong with our conception in the family courts about what rights are. There's a problem with the system because there's no accountability for judges. It's almost impossible to appeal interlocutory decisions in family court. These are the decisions that decide how children live for 3 to 5 years before a case comes to a trial. And you really can't appeal those. You can mandamus them, but there's no path to appeal in the state of Texas. We should fix that. And what happens when you have unaccountable members of government, where there is no oversight over them? What do you think happens? You get abuses of power, right? And you have bad voters, because voters know about these abuses in their courts. I've been working with fathers here for 10 years, telling the electorate about these problems. In my voting district, my House district, my Senate district, the voters know. I'll give you an example. We had a judge, Judge Shipman, who gave custody to the ex-wife's boyfriend, gave visitation to the ex-wife's boyfriend, okay? And And this judge was reelected. So we got a problem with voters as well. And I would say it's those three things.
Thank you very much. And by the way, the attorney who represented the boyfriend was running for precinct chair in the Republican Party. How's that? Amazing, isn't it? That's a conservative law firm, right? Exactly. So thank you so much. And I cannot believe that we allow judges to order the sexual abuse of children, which is what Judge Mary Brown did.